speak is to be heard, isn't it? But what if one day the words just stopped, ran out? The incoherent babble that spews forth like some kind of internal monologue brought to life, gone quiet. Nothing else stops or changes. People say not to assume, but they do. After all, why shouldn't you speak like them? But you can't. So you walk. You retreat into a bookshop, the one you frequent so often you know its shelves like the backs of your hands. How do you tell someone, anyone, that the book you so eagerly awaited, released that very day, isn't there? When the sound is dispersing before it can leave your lips, its spot on the shelves, a black hole waiting to be filled. You'd think a cup of coffee would be simpler, but coffee couldn't be more complex. The list of choices growing with every second spent attempting to form words that, as staff stare on expectantly, you know can never be spoken. And so, a situation lived 1,000 times becomes a stranger to you, left alone, empty-handed in a crowd of plenty because, well, who can tell them otherwise? Silent in a world that tells us communication is key. Imagine if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't speak. What would you do? Good morning, YouTube! So, you're probably all wondering what this video is about. In support of Sarah Barnard's new novel, A Quiet Kind of Thunder, which is a fantastic new novel with a protagonist, Steffi, who has selective mutism, as well as a prominent deaf character, Reese. I absolutely loved this novel. It's one of those books that I find to be extremely relatable, suffering with anxiety myself, as well as myself just being all-around awkward, shy and introverted. Sarah really is going from strength to strength, and I can't wait to see what she writes next. I'm sure it'll be absolutely amazing as well. Her debut novel, Beautiful Broken Things, I read that one, although I do believe that I actually prefer A Quiet Kind of Thunder. They're both amazing, but I think this is the one that just spoke to me even more. But yeah, in support of the release of A Quiet Kind of Thunder, Pan Macmillan challenged a bunch of booktubers to imagine what it was like to not be able to speak for a day. And I kind of wanted to try and do something a bit different, so I hope you enjoyed the before part of this video. However, I also wanted to talk a little bit on this topic, as there can be many reasons why somebody suffers with selective mutism, so I kind of wanted to talk a bit about my own experiences with not speaking. I want to preface this by saying that I'm in no way saying this is equal to people who suffer with selective mutism. I wasn't diagnosed or anything like that, and it was only for a very short period of time that I just didn't speak. Also, please ignore the noise from outside. Brighton is hella windy today. When I was 15 years old, unfortunately my mum passed away, and that kind of broke something in me in such a way that I just stopped speaking. I had no drive or desire to talk, and it must have only been for a couple of weeks, but still I just didn't talk. At the time I didn't really pay much attention to the effect it had on my surroundings in terms of my ability to communicate, because quite frankly I just didn't care. But thanks to Macmillan challenging us, it gave me the opportunity to reflect upon that period in my life. And one thing that was alarmingly clear was exactly what Sarah wrote. People just don't know what to do with someone who doesn't speak. I was just starting college at the time, and so was often called on in class to answer questions, to speak, and these were new teachers that I'd never had before, so they had no sort of awareness of what I was going through. They had no idea that I just wasn't speaking at that time or why. So every time they asked me something, I would just look at my papers, or I would look at them and I just wouldn't say anything. At the start, they'd get mad. It would turn into this big scene made in front of the class where everybody would look at me like that one weird kid, which isn't something that, you know, a teenager should be made to feel, in my opinion. Not only did the teachers try to talk to me, but so did the students, who in a flurry of new faces sought out friendship from anyone they sat next to, even me. But this too was short-lived. After all, shrugs and nodding can only get you so far. So they gave up, and I was left to sit alone. Except when it came to group work. Then everybody would group up and I would be told by the teacher to join some unwilling group whilst they all got on with the work, laughing and joking, and I sat on the outskirts just alone. Now, I probably could have made more effort, and had it not been for the fact that not only was I not speaking, but I was also just generally sad because of everything that I was kind of going through at that point in time, which made it kind of worse because I just had no motivation and I had no effort to try and communicate with them. But the fact remains that just nobody really knew what to do with me. Eventually I did manage to make some friends who began to make me laugh and bring me back out of my shell, and eventually I found my voice again. And as a result, all the students and teachers treated me like any other person. They treated me normal, which goes to show just how easily people can dismiss someone if they are remotely difficult to communicate with. So I guess I'm hoping what you guys will take from this is that no matter what it is that makes you different in how you communicate, selective mutism, being generally mute, or even if you just go to a different country and you have a language barrier, you won't always be alone. You might feel it at the time, and trust me, it sucks, but it won't always be that way. Just like in A Quiet Kind of Thunder with Steffi, or myself with my own experiences and myself making friends, there will be people out there who have that extra bit of patience and try to get through to you, to communicate. And honestly, they're the ones who are worth it.